Hey, Chicago investors, there are so many different changes in the laws for you every single year. And today I'm going to talk about 5 landlord laws that Chicago investors are getting caught up on all the time. Hi, I'm Mark Gainley, partner, founder of GC Realty Development, also co-host of Chicago's #1 real estate investing podcast, Straight Up Chicago Investor. This is where all the magic happens right here. But what I want to talk to you about today is 5 landlord laws that actually are catching up investors that, I get to talk to everyone between the property management company and between the podcast, and even some of the biggest, what we might deem as experts, are still messing up on these things. So I got 5 that I'm seeing people get caught up on, and I'm going to break these down for you today, and you go into detail with them if this is something that you're missing. So number 1 is the security deposits. In Chicago, you have a security deposit law that has so many different restrictions. I'm not going to go into everything here today, but if you are holding security deposit, you're opening yourself up to a lot of risk. If you currently have a security deposit, you might want to consider giving it back and getting the tenant to sign off on waiving any liability. So if you ever want to talk about that, I'm happy to break down how we handle it. I put out plenty of other information on collecting non-refundable moving fees instead. And if you're in Cook County, so let's say anywhere outside of Chicago, if you're in Schaumburg, if you're in Barrington, Oak Lawn, there's a security deposit law that came out in the RTLO when that came out in 2021 that you now have to jump through a bunch of hoops when you own security deposit. Now the risk isn't as much as in Chicago, so I would still encourage you to collect security deposit, but you can't collect more than 1.5 months. You have to have on the first page of the lease the bank that the money's being held in. You don't have to pay interest, but you have certain timeframes you have to meet. And there's lots of penalties if you don't meet that. So security deposit is for our first one that people are screwing up a lot or not really diving into the details is important. So next one is bed bug disclosure in Chicago. Bed bugs are a big deal in the city, and Chicago has made it part of their lease that you have to put the disclosure in there. And the important thing is that the tenant is signing off on that disclosure, initialing on it, signing off on it as part of your lease packet. So understanding the laws around bed bugs, super important. Understanding around the laws around pest control is super important as well too. And there's different laws between single family and townhomes and apartments that you have to, and owner-occupied buildings versus investor buildings that you have to follow. So that's the second big one that people are getting caught up on. Third, Chicago Fair Housing Ordinance. I've done other videos on this and went in depth. The Chicago Fair Housing Ordinance that came out in 2020 has notices you have to provide the tenant when you're giving notice to vacate. You want their lease is ending, you want them to leave. You have to give them a specific notice. If you've been there for less than 3 years, you have to give them 60 days. Less than 3 years, 60 days. If they've been there for more than 3 years, you have to give them a 120-day notice. So if you're not following those rules, you got to make sure that you're staying on top of that. Same with increases. So if you have a tenant that's been there for more than 3 years, you have to give them 120-day notice that their rent's going up. If they've been there just call it 2 years, you have to give them 60-day notice. So all these things are super important. So just understanding the Chicago Fair Housing Ordinance in general. There's a couple other things in there. Tenants' first right to cure if they fall behind on rent, all that stuff. That I want to make sure you're staying on top of. And I put some links to other videos here in the notes that you can get into the nitty-gritty of some of these things we're talking about here. And then the other big one is the Just Housing Amendment. So the Just Housing Amendment was passed in Cook County. So if you have a property in Palatine, if you have a property in Hoffman Estates, if you have a property in Burbank, you need to follow the Just Housing Amendment when you are doing your underwriting for a new tenant. You are not allowed to screen a tenant and run their background check until they've been approved based on everything else in your application. When I say everything else, I mean their income, their job requirements, their whatever your requirements are. They have to get approved by all those things. And if they're denied, they're denied. But if they're approved, then you could go pull their background check. So they want to make sure that you are not discriminating off the bat based on something happened in the background. And the background check is very specific on what you're allowed to actually even disqualify them for. So if something happened more than, I believe, 3 years, and double check this, a certain amount of period in the past, you can't hold it against them. So if 10 years ago they literally killed somebody, you cannot deny them based on that. You might find a different workaround, or maybe they'll be in jail, so you don't have to worry about that. But that was an extreme example I want to use of you cannot deny people based on certain things around the Just Housing Amendment. And this is anywhere in Cook County. So I talk to people all the time. I talked to someone the other day in Rolling Meadows. They had no clue this even existed. So make sure you firm up, because there are secret shoppers, and I'm watching people get in trouble the last couple of years for this. And then finally, this one is crazy, the late fees. If you're in Cook County or if you're in Chicago, you have to have, there's a specific amount of late fee you charge. It's not It's not whatever you want. It's not 7, it can't be even less. Even if it's less than what is required, you're still breaking the law by going against it. So in Cook County, so anywhere outside of Chicago, it is a $10 for the first $1,000 of rent, and then 5% for anywhere after. So if you have a $1,000 rent, the max you could charge is $10, but it's 5% anything above that. Now in Chicago, it's $10 for the first $500, and then 5% above. So it's just a little different, but no matter what, your leases will always have the same amount. So if you have you or 10 other landlords that all charge $3,000, you will all have the same exact late fee. And that's important because you could literally, maybe your tenant falls behind and you take them to court. And if you have the wrong late fee on your ledger that doesn't fall under the ordinance, that opens a red flag for what other violations you might be found guilty for in your lease. But ultimately, there's a good chance your eviction case will get thrown right out of court. So making sure you're understanding how to charge late fees if you're in Chicago County. So all these crazy things, and there's tons more. I have more videos coming up on those, but these are things that I'm seeing people, even experienced investors, fall short on when it comes to the details of their leases or how they operate their landlord business. So if this seems scary to you, it is. There's a lot of risk in being a landlord in the Chicago market. I definitely think there's plenty of upside as well too, but with risk comes reward, but some people don't like risk. So if you don't want to deal with this risk, we can help you as a property manager, and we can also help you buy your time back as well too, so you don't have to spend the time stressing about the things you don't know. Because a lot of these things are things that come out every year and change. So every year we're updating our lease. Every year we're making new videos trying to educate the public. Every year we're adjusting how we handle certain circumstances with tenants. So things are always changing here. And if you don't want to stay on top of that, we can definitely help you. So make sure you're compliant and reach out if you have any questions about anything we talked about here today. Leave a comment if there's something you've been burned by. Otherwise, subscribe to our channel and we'll talk soon.